We're here now with Erin Richards, the education reporter at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and she's covering a hearing in Madison about testing and assessments. And there's been a lot of discussion and debate about, are we testing our kids too much? Can you tell us a little bit about what will be coming up at the hearing?
The Senate Education Committee is hosting a hearing on testing for groups to come together today to talk about what types of tests are we giving kids? Are there too many state-mandated tests and federally mandated tests? In Wisconsin, this is also complicated by the fact that private schools that receive public money are also mandated to give certain tests. And there's some question of whether those schools should give the same types of assessments as the public schools. So this is an opportunity for parents and stakeholders, some school leaders, some people from both the private schools and the public schools and the State Department of Public Instruction to come together and say, this is what's on the table right now. These are the possibilities for how we could adjust the number of tests we give. But I think it'll be some interesting testimony about, sort of whether assessments are giving us the kind of information we need to help kids do better in school.
Is the argument on that public-private issue that the private schools shouldn't take any tests, or what's the argument for a different test? Where's that coming from? State
law right now mandates that private schools that get public money, which we often refer to as choice schools or voucher schools, that they have to give the same state assessment as the public schools. This year, that's called the Badger exam. It's a new online state exam that's linked to the Common Core state standards. There are some people, both in the private schools that give those tests and some Republicans that are more in favor of private schools giving different types of assessments. Actually, they'd like all schools to be able to have that flexibility, but for all intents and purposes, if you change the law, it would only allow the private schools to give different tests. Public schools still have to adhere to state law, unless somebody changes state law and says, actually, you can test this many times for your kids. All of this is also overlaid with the fact that at the federal level, lawmakers are looking at rewriting the No Child Left Behind law. And that is the actual law that says all states have to test kids between 3rd and 8th grade and once in high school. There's lawmakers are rewriting that law right now, and how much testing to include in that law is a big point of debate. There are some Wisconsin lawmakers that have also asked their counterparts in DC to support a bill that would only test students once in each grade span. So that would be once in elementary school, one state test in middle school, one state test in high school. That's at a really preliminary stage right now, and it's unclear where that's going to go.
Okay. Another important issue this week in Madison was the revelation that there's going to be no anticipated increase in the revenue projections. And I know there's been a lot of discussion for the K-12 level of can some of the money be reinstated that Governor Walker had cut. Do you have a take on what this will mean? I mean, there's going to be more fighting for the same limited amount of money.
That's exactly right. So what you're hearing from public school districts is, look, you've cut us year after year, especially under Governor Scott Walker. We can't keep cutting the way we're cutting without actually getting into some of the programs that you tend to really like. And this means programs that parents tend to really like include programs in the arts, advanced placement courses, extracurriculars. Those are things that for a long time many suburban school districts that have more resources have been able to preserve. In many of your larger urban districts that struggle with more financial challenges, some of those have been trimmed already. So what you're hearing is this cry, especially from suburban schools and beyond, saying, you can't keep cutting our schools and expect us to be able to perform at the levels we've been performing. So I think what you're seeing now is a lot of district folks were waiting for these revenue projections and hoping that there'd be some more money there, which would, they hoped, come to school, be directed towards schools instead.
One of the key districts, of course, is Wauwatosa, which is politically interesting because it's home to Governor Walker himself. You had a very interesting story earlier this week about how Wauwatosa and other districts are sort of banding together to lobby the government and to raise money to fill in some of these gaps. Can you tell us a little bit about what you found in your reporting?
In recent years, with the budget cuts to schools, some of our strongest voices that have come out in favor of protecting public schools have been school district officials, teachers unions, groups. And now we're starting to see parents really come out of the woodwork and say, these are important to us as well. Wauwatosa's superintendent sent out an email that said, I'm making you all aware that because we may have a $1 million cut in our budget, these are some of the things that could be on the chopping block. Things like orchestra, advanced placement classes. That really lit a fire under parents in Wauwatosa to say, we need to do something about this. We need to get people to call their lawmakers. We need to get people to say how much they value their public schools. And that sentiment has been picked up by other groups around the state that are talking about some of the same issues. And they're trying to remain non-political and saying it's okay. You can vote Republican and still support your public schools. But they're really trying to be issue-driven without coming across as simply another Democratic group.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Erin.
Thank you.